Hello friends of the electrified charging fun and welcome to Electrified Speicher, your channel all around Skoda's e-mobility. My name is Matthias and I've got an ELROQ RS for you right here in its signature color Mamba Green. And if you are interested in this car, well, this video might be for you because we look at the exterior, the interior, we look at the boot, the trunk and all the stuff around the car. Of course, we do driving tests in the city, on the country road and on the highway. We test the suspension, like I brought exactly the right floor for it. And of course, we do something you do not see in every video because we do a power test. We will see how long the batteries sustain the 250 kilowatts these engines of this car can consume over its SOC range. Because if you looked at the nitty-gritty of the details when you buy one, you will see a odd number there. Maybe you didn't even see that right now, but we will have a close look. And of course, we tested not on a rally strip. We tested in everyday life because that's where you will move the car as well. So here we go now. Here we go, the exterior of the ELROQ RS in post-Soviet style with this concrete slabs here where we can do a suspension test. And if we look at the ELROQ RS, well, what makes this model an RS? Well, obviously there are some details at the front of this car which you don't get otherwise. The first one is this little application here in glossy black for the air curtain towards the wheels. And the other thing is this application in the color of the body. We know this application already because this was also painted in the color of the body with the first edition. And here it makes its comeback at the air intake. Another speciality is the tech deck with the illuminated bar here in the front. You do not have this in the regular edition. The first edition also got this, and you can buy it as additional equipment on other models. And with that, you get these separated daylights up here and the turning signal. Please ignore that the car is a bit dirty because I already did some driving tests and they leave their stains here. Another thing is that Skoda logo here in the front is also glossy black, and as you already see, this is not painted. This is still just plastic. So let's move from the front over to the side. And again here, all this surroundings here of the car are all matte plastic as with a standard ELROQ. So the RS, well, of course it's the logo here on the side, but it's also those wheels, these 21-inch wheels, which they are called Vision. You already saw them on the first edition as well, and they had that stripe as well. On the first edition it was red. Here it is Mamba Green. And don't get me wrong, this strip is always Mamba Green. It's never in the trim of the body, so don't experience if you have a blue body that this is blue. But if you do not like this option, you can remove this little inset here, because this insert here is just to make the aerodynamics better. You can pull that out and maybe you like those wheels much better without the cover. And the logo here in the middle you can put in there. So this is the different optic you might want to use with your wheels. So let's move further onto the side. All those applications here are in glossy black instead of that matte chrome, and that's it for the side. Now let's go to the back of the car. And on the back of the car, well, what is distinguishable for an RS? Yes, it's the reflector down here. This reflector is completely over the whole span of the bumper, and on a normal ELROQ you won't have this one here in the middle. And of course the logo again in glossy black, and a lot of non-painted material again. Those inserts here, I already said when I reviewed the ELROQ, I don't like those plastic parts. Again, on an RS, they should have painted them. This, not painted, maybe good for repairs, but you know. And up here, the biggest flaw from my perspective, the rear spoiler. It is always not painted, not on the ENIAC, not on the ELROQ. But to be honest, if you go with your top tier model, the RS, you put some glossy black paint paint on this. This is at least my opinion, because leaving it so just looks a bit ugly and is not worth the top tier RS model as viewed from my perspective. And basically that's it. That is what makes an ELROQ RS an RS. The rest is like every other ELROQ. So here we are at the boot of the ELROQ RS, and this is basically the same as with every ELROQ. There is no RS specific stuff going on here. So you've got your 470 liters of storage according to Skoda. Some state that this is less, but it depends how you measure. And if you really want to know everything about the boot and what fits in, look up my video on the comparison of the ENIAC and the ELROQ boot with a lot of real world, everyday examples, every situation you might be in. This could be helpful because this gives you a really good impression. For this video, we just stick with the most basic things to know. You've got, of course, these compartments here to for storage and to put stuff in. This is accessory from the transport package, the net package, to put it in here to secure some stuff you might have in your boot. And of course, you've got those simply clever tricks like those hooks up here where you can put stuff like bags and so on. You've got the traditional cover up here with the net compartment below for the Type 2 cable. And if you just put that down, you see what I mean. This is not as much storage as you would imagine, especially because this cable is below, but still it is quite handy. Just for size comparison, so that you get a grip how big or small this boot is, I put in a shopping basket. This here is my reliable shopping basket, so you can see the size. It's for transportation of my recording and filming equipment, and has this little basement which keeps it perfectly in place, so it will never fall over, nor will you be in trouble, so it sticks quite well. But it also gives you a great size of this boot. But don't get me wrong, much more can fit in when you remove the cover. And removing the cover is quite easy. Just knock it off. But where to put it? Well, just behind here. You just stuff it down here and you're good to go. And now you can use the complete boot. But that's not everything. Let's move one compartment lower, shall we? Because this ELROQ RS comes with a transport package. Therefore, we can lift the floor and another compartment, or better two, this one and this one. And you can put a lot of stuff in here. And what you see in those compartments is the universal charger from Skoda. You've got this compartment here. Well, not in the RS, obviously, because the RS comes with the Canton sound system, and therefore the subwoofer is neatly fitted into this lower compartment, so just a bit storage above the subwoofer. Your ELROQ RS comes with some more accessories, like this one here, this floor mat, and this floor mat is double-sided. This is the normal fabric, and here you've got a smooth surface for example wet shoes and stuff like that. You can fit it in like this, you can flip it over, and you can leave it in the car. This little thingy can be stuck to those hooks here, 3 on each side, to put in other stuff. For example, you can put them in every position you like, and now you can put stuff on it, for example a wet jacket or an umbrella or other stuff you might want not to touch the floor of your ELROQ. Yet this is not very stable, so don't put heavy load on it. But what you can do is use the cover for a second floor, because these knobs down here are not only for holding it back, they are also for putting it on it. And I'll show you like this. Wait a minute, tricky. Here we go. And now you've got a second floor, and this is much more sturdy. So a lot of options, a lot of possibilities when it comes to operate your boot. time to have a look at the interior of the ELROQ RS and to find out what makes the interior ELROQ RS specific. Well, and I guess you notice it directly at the first glance, at the first view, when I show you the interior here. It's a trim of this car in the interior. Well, it starts here in the side, micro fabric style, and of course you've got those Skoda gimmicks like the umbrella here and that big pouch here where you can put in big bottles and even more stuff here. But now let's jump into those sport seats, because they are really comfy despite the fact that they are sport seats. And of course you can see it here. You've got the RS logo up here. Everything is in that mamba green color. All the stitchings, then this little border here, and even the fabric itself. And it continues everywhere. Every stitching on every part here has that mamba green color. And here's the bad news. If you don't like that mamba green, well, this is the only interior available. You won't get any other. So it perfectly matches with the mamba green here of the door, but there is no neutral color available. The rest, well, that's basically an ELROQ that we used to know already. You've got the same applications here in dark chrome. You've got the button bar down here, the big display in the middle, the small cockpit display, the head-up display in front of you, and the steering wheel with the letter mark. Those buttons here are all physical, non-touch, so simply press them, and here's one missing, and this is a pity. This button, they got rid of it with the new model of the ENIAC and with the ELROQ. There was one previous, and they never put a new one there. I don't know why. Sad, because this is a missed opportunity. Talking about missed opportunities, I'll show you the biggest thing which is missing. Do you see it? Exactly. There is no panoramic roof, there is no glass element, there is nothing, and you can't even buy it as additional equipment. They simply missed out an opportunity to put a glass roof in that car, and this is so sad from my perspective. Back to what's not so sad, because what is good. You have a lot of storage in here. Well, first off, you've got the compartment here for your smartphone. It's air-cooled and can go up to 20 watts. And down there you'll find two USB-C ports, 45 watts, but shared. So if you put on two devices, the power is shared. Behind that, you've got the cup holders with that element, which you can put to the side, so you have a bigger and a smaller one, and with that card holder here in the middle. Then another pocket to put stuff in, the gear selector, the electric parking brake, and two slots for some coins, only to come to the big middle console where there's plenty of storage more. We've got this box here, and then this big box, and down here is even another box. And this, you might think, what is this? Well, it's supposed to be for your sunglasses, but the position down there is not the best. Well, why should you put your sunglasses down there, put stuff on it, and then put even more stuff on it? But that was the solution that Skoda brought. Not so simply clever. Again, you've got another storage compartment down here where you can put additional stuff, and over here you've got also a small pocket to put even more stuff, and of course here in the glove box there is even more space. And all in all, it's a neat design. It's rather dark due to those dark components here. Seats are comfy, and it's a good place to operate that car. Now let's have a look. To operate the car, what size should you be? Well, I'm 1.73 m, so let's see the headroom, and there is plenty of. I bet you can sit here in the front 1.95 m, maybe even 2 meters tall. But this is not all. Let's step to the back of the car, to the passengers' places there, and have a look what's awaiting us over there. Before we step in, see here we've got privacy glassing on all rear parts. You can see it directly when you look at the front glass, and this is acoustic glass as well. So here you've got way more silent interior than in other cars of the Skoda brand, because simply this isolates you more. You've got those blinds here. Those blinds are perfectly fine on both sides. If the sun is shining, they help a lot, yet you can see through them. And well, have a look. You already have that mamba green everywhere. Again, all the stitchings, all the fabric, all mamba green. But one thing you might notice directly is when I'm sitting behind that seat, which is in the position how I drive, see here, this is so much space in front of my knees. This is awesome. And while we are here, well, here's the first pocket to put stuff in. Here's another pocket for your smartphone, just in case you might want to charge it down there at those USB-C ports. Again, 45 watts shared, and here is no 230 volt outlet. They removed it. It's a bit sad, but it is how it is. Moving up, there is the third zone of the climatization to be steerable, controllable from the rear seat. You've got heating left and right here. And down here you have another compartment to put stuff in, and you can remove it for more space, or you can put it back. And it's also a cup holder. But you do not have to use those cup holders. You can also use this one here. This armrest here folds out, and when you fold out this, you've got another cup holder here and here. And this here is an accessory port for Skoda to put in something to have your tablet just in place. And of course you can open up here and can put stuff which is longer and load it like this. The headrests behind me here, you can adjust them. You can even remove the middle one. You can remove them all, don't get me wrong. But maybe you want to consider to remove the middle one, which is also a bit smaller, because that you have a better view to the rear. If you remove that, you can simply put it down there, and then you have a perfect view to the rear. And the best thing about all of this, I'm thinking this is pretty fine for an ELROQ RS. But the best moment for me in every ENIAC and ELROQ is this one. Looking from the rear seat to the cockpit. This is still, after so many years, an amazingly designed cockpit to feel cozy and at home. And I highly recommend you, if you get an ELROQ or an ENIAC, to just sit on the rear seat and have that view to the front where you're normally sitting. Time for the city test right now. We are driving through Mlada and we are at 13.2 kilowatt hours, 100 kilometer consumption, whilst at 31 kilometers an hour average speed. I already did the German take of this video. Now I'm going on the second round through Mlada with you in the English video, and afterwards I think we have a pretty good city limit consumption and also a really good impression on how this car drives within the city. And as of now, I'll drive a lot with the travel assist, so the car tries to find the lane, but here is obviously no lane at all. Now it sees the 30 ahead, and this is true, there is that 30, and is slowing down because of those bumpers here. There comes the next one. You feel them. And I'm curious if the car will notice when it's allowed to drive 50 again, because there will be no sign here. And now it has 50 again, which is absolutely correct. At this point, it should have 50. So I don't know whether the map data and road sign data is better, especially here in Mlada Boleslav, where the car comes from, but that worked flawlessly. And now it also got the lane markings left and right. It sees the roundabout ahead. It starts to decelerate. Well, as of now, it's doing its job really good. So now let's see. We've got a car ahead of us, so it should follow the car, keep the distance. It does. It let the car a bit gain distance to me. and now we're driving 50 again, and the car is driving on its own. I'm not steering, the car is steering, and it has a perfect recognition of the road, of the markings on the road. So as of now, everything is great. And of course, driving in the city is a bit boring. So let's see that we find some more interesting parts of Mladá Boleslav for you, especially those cobblestone roads I've talked about. And we're heading straight towards them now. Now let's switch to comfort mode and head for those cobblestones. Oh yeah. But to be honest, I don't feel them very much. It's quite a comfortable ride in comfort mode, but it would be completely different with a sport suspension, which I don't have in this car. But this works quite nice. It's not as bad as I thought. So yes, it's not a smooth ride, but it is a good ride. And now just switch over to sport mode for the second part of that road. Small breathe here of the cobblestone, and here we continue. It's only 30 here, but that is way enough to feel. And yes, I would say I feel a difference here. Oh, yes, the sport mode lets you feel the road way more direct than I thought. Yes. Now, keep in mind, we only have the normal DCC in this car, not the DCC Plus as we know it from a Kodiaq or Superb. So this one is even better, the DCC Plus. We just have the normal DCC, but it does its job, and here it really lets me feel every cobblestone and what the cobblestones are thinking about my driving. And here are the results of my city drive. 15 kilowatt hours, 100 kilometers consumption, 45 minutes of driving, 22 kilometers, and it was 30 kilometers an hour. Average just jumped down to 29. This is not bad. This is not good either, don't get me wrong, but I was not driving very efficient because why should I? And in the end, I'm testing a car. I should have fun too, right? So this is quite good, but keep in mind it's 24 degrees outside, so quite good conditions for a battery that has less consumption. And now it's curious what will happen when we go on country road and on the highway. Time to have a look at the turning circle, because this is the first all-wheel drive ELROQ available, the RS. So I am parallel to that white marking here out on that parking lot, and now I will do a 180-degree turn, and then we will look how much this is. So here we go, just fully to the left with about 3 to 5 kilometers an hour as the ELROQ drives itself. And as soon as I'm parallel again, which should be now, yes, this looks good, we can do the measure. And this wouldn't be electrified Speicher if I wouldn't bring a measure tape. So let's do this. So we are talking 9,90 m, 10 meters of turning circle, roughly measured, but this is the best I can do. And now let's see if we will end up at the white line again, but I'm pretty confident we will. So here we go. Again, fully to the left, just even a bit away from the white line. So yes, 10 meters is what you need to turn the ENIAC, or 10 meters it is what you need to turn the ELROQ RS around. This is quite an astonishing value for an all-wheel drive car. And now let's do a full circle again so you can see this. Good morning from the Czech highway. We are traveling towards Prague, where I will record a podcast with Skoda, and that's a very fine situation to test the new ELROQ RS here on the Czech highway. There's a 130 kilometers an hour limit, and even most Czechs stick to it, so do I. Therefore, yes, we are not driving 180, what this car is capable of. Yes, you heard that right. You cannot drive it with 200 kilometers an hour, even though it's an RS. 180 kilometers an hour is the maximum. Well, this is only important for Germans, I guess, because in every other country you're simply not allowed to drive that fast. and despite the fact that it has 250 kilowatts, which you can feel when you accelerate, it's also the fastest Skoda car built in series, with 0 to 100 or 0 to 60 miles an hour in 5.4 seconds. Yet to try this out you would need a free highway. Now this highway is still a bit free, but the closer we get to Prague, the more cars will be on it. And driving on a highway is, to be honest, quite boring, as we can use the travel assist here, which I do, so the car drives on its own. It sees all the lanes, as you can see in the cockpit display. It knows where the car's in front of me, it knows the cars left and right to my sides, and it's just driving for me, sticks to 130. And we also got the lane changing assistant in this car, meaning if you just tip blink, the car will change the lane automatically if you have that white arrow in the display, like here. Let's do it, and the car is doing it on its own. As you can see, I have nothing to do. You're faster when you're doing it on your own, but it's a nice assistant. As predicted, there it is, the traffic jam. We have a bit of a flow in the traffic, and this is a good situation to test the traffic jam assistant, because for this situation it was meant to be built so that the car just sticks to the car in front of you, and when you stop, your car stops. When the car drives again, your car drives again, and that's quite handy if you're in a traffic jam. And here you see we started driving again. That's the traffic jam assistant. Let's check the power output of the ELROQ RS, because if you look carefully into your papers, you might see something like that the full power of 250 kilowatts is only available in a very narrow SOC range, namely 82% or 88% above. I'll show you down here a screenshot from this. And I already did such a check with my ENIAC, show you how much power is really being given towards the engines over the SOC range from 100 to 0%. We do something different, something similar here. You see, I've charged up to 100%, 99% right now, and I connected my OBD dongle so that we get data from the car. And the most important data is here in the middle, the EV battery power. 99% SOC, and I'm now on the Czech highway. And now it's time to do some pedal to the metal whilst I'm recording here on screen what will happen. Here we go! That speed is awesome! And I saw 273 kilowatts maximum, 265 kilowatts. This is great. This is definitely maximum power. This is even more. That's because I measure directly after the battery, and the battery has to provide more power because there are losses in the cables and the power electronics. So we can definitely say at 99% SOC you get 250 kilowatts. As you saw, at 80% with that battery temperature, there is no power restriction from the battery. So we reached over 280 kilowatts provided by the battery towards the motors. Our next stop is 50% SOC. Now I test that 50% SOC and we still get 288 kilowatts from the battery, so more than enough. At 20% SOC we are the first time a bit lower with 265 kilowatts, and at 10% SOC we are still getting 237 kilowatts from the battery. This is really good. But keep in mind, the battery was really warm. It was 30 degrees Celsius here in the Czech Republic, so nearly optimal for the energy distribution from the battery. You get different yet not really much worse results at 10 degrees or even 0 degrees Celsius, yet they would be lower. And of course, I did not test from 0 to, let's say, 60 miles per hour. I tested real driving situations on the highway and the country road. So don't worry about too less power here. This is, even at 10% SOC, way more than you need for every driving or overtaking situation you find on the road. It's time for the charging test with the new ELROQ RS, and of course if you don't want to use the keys, you can use the app to unlock your car, and here you go. But To be honest, why should I use the app if I have opening when I'm getting towards the car and closing when I'm going away from the car? This is way easier. Just go to the car, it opens up, and go away and it closes. So why to need an app if I can do it just by go to the car and just leave the car again? Exactly down to 10%, and it's time to charge up. Therefore I went to that Ionity station here, and we've got an LPtronic back there, so I get a nice charging diagram, and of course I take all my data with my OBD adapter and my app, and now it's time to plug in. I'm just charging for 30 seconds now, and we're already at top charging speed here. 185 kilowatts is the maximum possible charging power of the ELROQ RS. We are at 181, 182, so basically we already reached peak performance here. Whilst the car is charging, and by the way, it's charging now with 184 kilowatts, we are already at 18% here, charging 17 kilometers each minute. Let's talk a bit about that battery in the ELROQ RS. This is the 84 kilowatt hours gross capacity battery. You can use 79 kilowatts of it, that's the net capacity. So you've got 2 kilowatts more than in the 85 models. And this is not only 2 kilowatts more, because within this car there is a different battery. What does that mean? Well, this is not the battery you find in the 85X or you got in the 85 before they changed battery. Basically, this car now has the same battery type, yet a bit modified than the 85 with 135 kilowatts. So this is the same manufacturer. Therefore, I'm really keen to see that charging curve, because this battery I never tested before. Well, we are charging now since 6 minutes, as you see down here. Yet when we were at 5 minutes, it was 17 kilowatt hours and a 30% of a charge. And we constantly charge here still with way over 180 kilowatts. That's impressive. 20% in 5 minutes, or 17 kilowatt hours in 5 minutes. We now hit 10 minutes of a charging. You can see it here. And after 10 minutes, we were at 46%. We're still charging with over 150 kilowatts, and at 10 minutes we've got 30 kilowatt hours back in the battery. And if you look at the stats here, well, this is quite a good charging curve. Directly jumps up to over 180, keeps that to around 40%, and now is going down the slope. So that's kind of impressive, and that is definitely a step up for the MEB platform and for Skoda when it comes to charging. This is something, as of now, we did not see on those Skoda EVs. 15 minutes for charging are gone now. We are now below 120 kilowatts, and we are at 60% SOC and charged way over 40 kilowatt hours within those 15 minutes. We are now 20 minutes charging here, and we are at 50 kilowatt hours and 70% now charging with less than 100 kilowatts. By the way, we are over 75% now and still charging with way over 80 kilowatts. That's really, really good. There are a lot of models on the market who just reach half of this when we have such high SOCs. Charging is done, and we exactly hit the 26 minutes to charge 58 kilowatt hours. You see the charging curve here. This is really a nice curve. This is what I expect how this car should charge. Well then, let's talk about the software, which mainly happens on this screen here or in interaction with Laura. Let's have Laura, our voice assist, as our welcoming guest here. And how are you?
That depends on where we're going.
And this is Laura. Not only, there's way more, but let's start with this display. You have that upper bar with vehicle-specific functionality. You have that lower bar with the apps here and with the climatization features left and right here, and that big middle screen with all the information you would like to see. And first off, let's start with this upper part all around the vehicles. You can add some favorites here. You can even add more here. You can adjust the brightness up here. And on this bar, everything vehicle related is to be found. And down here you have those apps. More apps are here. You got 4 favorite apps here, and you see what they consider an app. Home button always leads you home. And for example, if we now dive into these apps, let's start first with Laura. We already heard her. You can set activation stuff here. For example, do you wish voice activation, what command, or even record an own command. And then you can interact with her. The other thing down here is information about software, because if you're curious, the ELROQ RS comes with software version 5.4. Now let's dive a bit into the software, and please be advised, I have videos on every aspect of that software online in my How to Skoda EV series. So I don't explain here how to configure it, nor every detail. So please look up those videos on how to personalize and configure everything here, because you can. So I will focus on the EV specific functions. And first off, we've got charging here. You've got that button here, you have charging in the menu, you can put it as a favorite. Many ways lead to Mlada Boleslav. Here is your charging limit. You can go to 100, 80 is recommended, or as low as 50%. Then the more important function is here, optimize. As you can see, due to the heat, we've got nearly 30 degrees Celsius outside here in Mlada Boleslav. Here you can optimize for rapid charging. I have the optimized charging capability already, therefore no button for preheating is here. Yet you don't need that button, because in your electric vehicle route planning there is an option that the automatic optimization of rapid charging is happening whenever you do a route planning with a DC charger. So you should activate this function. You can also set the remaining ranges at the destination and at the charging stop up here. But enough of configuration. Talking about charge planning also means talking about route guidance. So let's do this. Head to the map. You can also head to the map or navigation down here. And this is not Google style with a satellite image. Yet when you ask me, I think you don't need that. I like that view even more. And for me, this looks not old school. And you see all the real-time traffic data here. Prague is horrible for driving, by the way. And this is sometimes even better than Google Maps. I didn't want to believe it until I experienced it. And when we zoom out, you see the range cloud here. This is where you can go with your current SoC. I don't have much left. Now let's do a quick route planning. But before we do, we could enter the destination here on search. We can also add destinations. And I already added a favorite as my home location, so I can do stuff like this. Drive me home.
Could you repeat that, please? Okay, going home. Have a good journey.
And here we go. The route is really fast in planning, 707 kilometers. Chargers are already planned here, and these chargers are, well, okay, but not good. Now it did a replanning, and now it adds a really bad charger here. But if you do not want this, you can change the chargers. So tap on one, other charging stations, and filter them. And now you only see Ionities, because I've got filters active, yet the filters only go for Ionity or PowerPass, the Skoda own charging provider, and not more. The other providers are missing, and that is a big flaw. I keep reminding Skoda on this to put more charging providers here. But it is as easy as it is. You select one, you add it, and now he's changing the complete charging. Now I have that Ionity in place. Let's stop navigation for a moment here. So navigation is quite easy. Sometimes you ask for more. For example, you want to use your Google Maps, your Apple Maps or whatever. Therefore, I already connected my iPhone, and of course I have Apple CarPlay. I can use Spotify, and as you can see here, this is the current song, which is also represented up here, so I can control my Spotify from here, even though it's not native. Now let's quickly head over to climatization, because this is also interesting. You can control it from here, and there's one function, this is called heaters, where you can configure up to 4 heatings. these up here, which will be activated with a single button press, which you can put up here. But you can also do stuff like that. I'm cold.
No problem. It will get warmer at the front left shortly.
And she increased the temperature on the front left because she hears that I was speaking and not my passenger. Then the last two things I want to show you in this chapter is the driving modes. Here you go, let's enhance this. And if you go to them and see this, then you have the complete package. Comfort is one you only get when you have the DCC, and traction is one you only get when you have all-wheel drive. Eco, Normal, Sport and Individual is an every ELROQ, and here in the RS I've got the full program. On individual you can adjust it to your delight, whatever you want to configure your car and how to behave. And with that we head over to the assistance systems. Here you can have a view like this or a list, and this is an ever ongoing list of configurable options which I showed you in a separate video and explained them all to you. And this should be already it for this video when it comes to software. And maybe you will say, this is not enough, Matthias, I expected way more. Therefore, head over to the other videos on this channel where you can learn every detail about this software version 5.4, how to get the most out of it. And yes, if you now missed stuff for entertainment like Netflix or YouTube, well, this is not the focus of a Skoda nor of their software. Not even a native Spotify app is available. Their focus is on driving features and driving functions and not on entertainment. And therefore, this is a choice you make when you choose an ELROQ RS, for example. I have to admit, I like that, but that's not for everyone. And of course the software still has flaws. There are things they could improve and they can get better. And I remind them on all those flaws. Yet, if you know the first software iterations, like I know, really the first software version 2, when it was not even called software version 2, and the 5.4 now, you know that this is a software that really lives up to the expectation of being a good help when it comes to driving. Now let's have a look at all the lighting of the car here in the sunset in the Czech Republic in Mladá Boleslav. And first off, we look at the front of the car. You see the coming home, leaving home animation here. You see the matrix LED high beam, the normal beam, you see the fog lights and all the turning signals and everything this car has to offer when it comes to light. Of course, we do a driving test later on with the matrix LED, but for now let's look at the static lights here. When we go to the side, we see the mirror projection on the ground, which helps you to get into the car, these waveforms with a Skoda name below it. And now let's move to the rear side where you see the illumination of your registration plate. You see all the braking light, the rear lights, which also got two different animation styles or even none. If you do not want one, you see only one here. There's a second one available. And you see the reverse light when driving reverse and everything the car has to offer with lighting. And now also let's have a look at the boot light. Well, certainly here is only one light in the boot, and on the right side there is none, so you've got plenty of light in the boot, but it would be better to have two. There's a second one up here. I didn't see that yet, not on the left side, only on the right. So got lower left and upper right. And this one up here is kind of handy because look at my hand. It brings light to the complete back part of your car, so you can really easy operate the boot. Yes, I would say you could have put in some more light, but that works quite decent. Time to have a look at the ambient lighting, and the light strip you see here in red, by the way also here in the rear door in red, is just because they are open to warn pedestrians or bicycle riders that there is a door in its way, because the rest of them is already, I said that, to Mamba green. Nice little safety feature. But before we step into the car at the front, let's look at the passenger's view from behind. Of course, you've got that bright light up there for reading and other stuff. Simply by tapping on it, you can activate it and deactivate it again. You've got ambient light here in the door on the right. on the left, and you've got even light here in the footroom of the passengers. And as soon as we enter, start the car, the upper light goes out, and now everything is in that color I said, that mamba greenish color. I choose sunset, not complete darkness, because you got a better view of the color of the background lighting and the colors here in the car when it's not completely dark. And of course it's very clean and nice. Everything is in white. All the buttons, everything you have to control, whilst you can control the light strips. And let's dive into that. First off, of course, you can adjust the brightness of the screen just here as you go. And then you can set the colors. And this is really a lot. First, you've got the upper bar here, which sets the colors of the light strips. As you see here, I can go through a lot of colors. And the lower one, well, this is for the lower compartment here, because this has its own color slider, so you can choose a B-tone or dual tone for colors. Of course, you've got here that lighting in the footroom as well in the front, and you've got light here where the door handles are. So there's a lot of things going on, and you can set them all. Just go to brightness here. You can adjust the brightness for the sides, for the front strip, for the lower compartment. And for example, if you do not like that your footroom is lighted, well, just go down here and now it's completely dark down there. Also, I try to record for you the head-up display. This is not an easy task to record it, as it is directly in the driver's view face, so therefore it's not perfectly on this camera. It's way more vibrant in colors and display in the front of you, so this is just what I was able to manage to record. And as you can see, you've got not only that low bar down, that small bar with all the necessary information, you got the augmented reality. And the augmented reality is awesome. It shows you everything you need when turning through a bend, or when come to a crossing or a roundabout, when you should turn around or drive into some intersection. Whatever information is needed, for example, when your battery depletes, or even that you see the ultrasound sensors from the front in that display. The head-up display got you covered. For me, it is a highly recommended piece when you come to equip your car, and you should always look for having the head-up display. In the ELROQ RS, as far as I understand the packages, but I cannot speak for every country because they vary through the countries. It should be not standard equipment, but you really should opt in. I guess it's part of the advanced package, but not in every country there is the advanced package. In some countries there's only the max package, so please excuse that I cannot tell you exactly what will be in your country, but head-up display is, from my perspective, worth every penny. So now we're on the road and I try to showcase you the Matrix LED. Yet I was not in luck here because there was so few traffic on the road. It was hard to get every driving situation. Therefore, I highly recommend having a look at my review of the ENIAC, of the facelifted ENIAC here on the channel. There I have a very good section with nearly every driving situation where you can experience the Matrix LED, and it is the same. The ELROQ RS had the same Matrix LED as the ENIAC facelift. So you got 36 segments here. This is not much, but it works, and you can see it here when I'm driving behind the car, how big this black box around the car is. And with oncoming traffic it also works. You can see it right here. Some cars are coming towards me. No one is showing me that I am glaring them, so I think it works quite well. You see how the system works, how it tries to get as much light for you on the road without disturbing anyone else. Matrix LED, again, for me a huge plus. I'm glad to see that this is standard in the ELROQ RS. And if you really want to see more, head over to the ENIAC facelift review. There is one chapter solely with really good recordings of the Matrix LED. If I wanted to show you everything the car has to offer when it comes to parking and maneuvering, well, this would be a video on its own. And guess what? There is a video on its own in my How to Skoda EV series, that series of 8 parts which shows you how to start with a Skoda EV. And there is one episode solely around parking. So look at this, because everything you see there is in the ELROQ RS. Here I only show you the remote parking. So I drive past the parking lot, the car recognizes it, I hit remote parking, I get out of the car, I use my app, just put the finger on that single button and the car does everything on its own, driving into that parking lot here. It can do way more parking situations than this one. So this should be it for this video. If you want to know more, I can highly recommend you my Skoda EV series for everyone who's heading out with an electric car or who's switching over from a different brand. This video series is for you. So there you can see memory or trained parking and every other parking and maneuvering option the car has to offer. So here we are with our poisonous gnome, the ELROQ RS, or poisonous ivy, however you would call that mamba green car behind me. And for all of those who do not like mamba green, well, you have more colors to choose from in the configurator, but there is one thing coming up which might surprise you and which might make you happy, because there will be a limited edition available in matte gray. Yes, you heard that right, the first EV of Skoda in a matte color painting. This is a limited edition, you only get it at the dealership, not online, and despite the fact that it is matte gray, it has more body parts painted in glossy black. For example, the door handles, and they told me even the rear spoiler. So I'm really curious to see those on the road. So if you're interested in that special edition, ask your dealer. But now let's talk about the one we've got here, this test car right behind me. And let's start with the bad and the ugly, because not everything is perfectly fine on this car. Let's start at the exterior. Whilst it looks quite RS-y with all these applications and this color down here, there is still a lot of black plastic, like here. And it's exactly the same amount you've got on even the basic entry ELROQ. And this is the top-notch model of the whole series. Why don't you paint, for example, the rear spoiler black glossy? This is not worth for an RS, because way too much plastic for this top-notch model, at least from my perspective. Let's move from the exterior to the interior, and you really have to like lime green or that yellow greenish color, because the only interior trim available is the one I have shown you in this video. Whilst in the ENYAC you get a more neutral one and the green one. With the ELROQ, maybe to differentiate those two from each other, you don't. And for me that's a downfall, because not everyone really likes that trim or color in the interior, and therefore, yeah, you don't have any option. And still talking about the interior, Skoda is well known for its steering wheel, because it has it is an award-winning steering wheel with its haptics controls. And then, only because you do not need a button, you simply put a cover on it instead of putting a new one on it. Why? And this is not only with the RS, this is with every ELROQ and every ENYAC. Why do you do this? This is simply not clever. Just put another button there. And from the interior, let's move to the entertainment or software. While software version 5.4 is really quite well, there's one major flaw in it, and that is that you cannot select charging providers for your route guidance and charge planning. You can only use Power Pass, and that is unacceptable for me. If you're paying such prices for such a car, it cannot be that the manufacturer locks you in on its very own charging tariff, which is way too expensive in most use cases. And simply lets you only change charging providers manually by replacing the chargers and not even be able to search for the right ones. This is simply not what I can accept when it comes to the prices of such a car. They try something like lock-in here like Nespresso did, yet even for Nespresso you get other capsules. So this is something Skoda definitely has to change. It cannot be that it is like this in such an expensive car when you give them so much money that they force you for convenience into their subscription model, which is too expensive. And with that, my criticism is at an end, because for me this is it. Now let's move on to the good stuff of the car. And the first thing to mention here is you've got 250 kilowatts in an ELROQ, and that is amazing. This is so agile. This makes so much fun on the road. And yes, I missed out to show you country road driving, but if you experience it on your own, you will see what I mean. This is hilarious. The acceleration is just great. And as you saw in my power tests, you've got that acceleration over nearly the whole SOC, not only to 88%. You've got that way longer. And with that, we are at the next really great point, the battery. This new battery is really great. 26 minutes for charging, way over 50 kilowatt hours. This is good. For the MEB platform, this is really good. Of course, you can compare it with the market where there is better charging available, but we have to stick with what we have, and that is the MEB platform, and within its family, well, that battery really does a great job. And with that, let's move on to the software, because software version 5.4 is a good one. I have a lot of videos here on the channel where I do deep dives into the software, and a lot of the things in the software really work well. It's not an entertainment software, so you will not have Netflix or YouTube and stuff, but to get conveniently from A to B, not talking about charging providers, this software does a great job, and the assistance systems also work quite well in that car, as you saw in the video. And another big benefit is, despite the fact that you have an RS, a sporty version of that car, you still have the same comfort in the interior. You have those cozy sport seats, you have the DCC. Sadly, I couldn't test the normal sport suspension, but the DCC does its job well. You can put it into sport, you can put it to comfort, and you still got the big boot. You do not miss out anything if you want to go traveling with your family. And you can do that comfortable or in a sport mode. And therefore, I like that you can do both with the car. Just driving and coasting along, or really put the pedal to the metal. And therefore, I like the car and what Skoda made out of it, despite all the criticism I have. And now I want to ask you, what do you think about the ELROQ RS? Is this the car to go for you? Write me in the comments, and also give this video a thumbs up if you liked it. Subscribe to the channel so you do not miss out any new content, and consider to support me with a small donation so I can keep up with my videos here and bring you all the new stuff from Skoda, also showing you not only the good parts and also showing you the bad and the ugly. And we see each other in the next video, and until then, stay full of energy.